Welcome to the podcast From Dentist to De Novo. I am very excited this week because each and every time we have the podcast, I'm trying to bring something that gets the listener or perhaps the viewer a better education on how to go down the startup path. And this is all about from basically associate to CEO. And this week I have the pleasure, and I'm probably going to mess this up, so please help me out here, Mike Lamorgese with me here, and that is correct pronunciation or no?
So no one gets it correct. It's properly pronounced Lamorgese. You got to use your hands when you say it. It's Italian, right? So Lamorgese.
And for the audience, we are both Ohio guys. You're a Northern Ohio guy, and I hope that doesn't offend anybody listening. Not that he's from Northern Ohio, but that we are from Ohio. Midwestern guys, both find ourselves here in Southern Cal. So thank you so much, man, for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Let's dive in to how long you been in the game.
So been in the game for about 12 years now. Okay. Started right out of college and
started when you were 10. So that's cool.
Yeah.
You get this a lot though, right? You get this like young thing. Okay, good. I don't want to be offensive. I want to be complimentary.
Yep.
But also I can't get enough face cream and enough stuff going on to look that many years younger. I won't age myself. But so how many years again?
So about 12 years.
Okay. 12. And you spent time today. You're in what we call manufacturer's role, manufacturer's rep or
correct.
Yep. Okay. And before that, you were a distributor side.
That's
right?
correct.
Yep. Worked for a very large multinational distributor that will remain nameless because I'm sure they're sad that you left and went to this other side. But you didn't go to the bad side, just different side.
Still work with them in different ways.
So help me clear that up because I have some doctors that think if I said, hey, I'm working with, insert manufacturer name here. We'll say I'm working with ADEC.
Yep.
And it's great. But technically, ADEC can't sell to any one single doctor, right?
That's correct.
So give me the rundown.
Yeah, so ADEC is a company that is a manufacturer. So we make all of the equipment that people have inside of their dental offices, right? So everything from the chair that you sit in, cabinetry, the light, stools, et cetera, right, is all manufactured by ADEC. So we truly make all of them. We take the raw materials and turn it into the actual products, which is part of the ADEC differentiation. The dealer side of things is who we distribute through. So if you wanted to buy something directly from ADEC, you can't.
Yeah.
So we exclusively sell through our dealer partners, which are excellent value adds to the customer as well. So not only are they people that are able to, sell everything, not just ADEC in my case, so they can have, as much as I might be biased, my experience helps to alleviate some of that bias, but they can help to, maneuver through the different offerings available to you as a dentist. But then really they have local technicians that are going to help with the installation and servicing of things because we as ADEC don't have local technicians. I'm the local person. So
there's more they bring to the table than just,
Exactly. So it's a true team partnership there. We have some different approaches in how we do things, but we generally work together with the end goal of taking care of the customer. So.
Yeah. You guys at ADEC have done, from my standpoint, an insanely good job at getting to the dentist early. And that is through usually schools and government stuff, right?
Yep.
I don't know if every dental school in the country, but how many do you know? It's a ton. A lot of dental schools use ADEC.
I don't know the exact percent, but it's around 95% of dental schools have.
We'll just say all of them.
Sure.
Because if it's 95, then the last 5, they matter, but 95, well, I didn't know that.
It's a big number.
And then most government branches, Air Force, Army, Navy, whomever, yeah. So I talked to a lot of docs and I kind of grew up on ADEC.
Yep.
That's what I know.
Yep.
And at first, what do you mean you grew up on ADEC? Oh, that makes sense. Dental school, you learned all your clinic, all your stuff went through ADEC.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you guys do a really good job with that.
Yeah, their decision criteria is a little bit different than most private practices, right? But they buy ADEC equipment because of the quality associated with it, and they know that's going to last a long time, even if 150 students are going to be beating it up every single day, all day, right? So that's a lot of why it's been so successful in that space, and we're proud to have that quality that you get to know as a dentist in dental school, and then hopefully carry it on into your private practice as well.
And so then through schools and government, now through back to I want to go full circle on the distributor side of the house. I usually equate it to, and we had discussed this off camera, but like the car dealership network, because I just don't want to put anything out there that's misinformation here in the podcast. So I've always made that analogy, right? If we were talking about Mercedes-Benz and then I went to, the Chevrolet dealer, they're going to tell me, well, Chevy's a great car because I don't sell Mercedes.
Yep.
Or vice versa. If I go to Mercedes and I go, oh man, this is not what I was thinking it is. Can I talk to the Chevy guy? They go, we don't have Chevys here. So the dealer networks similarly, right? They sell your stuff. They sell other stuff.
Yep.
And then it's really like they're the ones that are facilitating to the doc. If the doc shows up and says, hey, I want ADEC, they go, great, we have ADEC, right? And or if the doc says, hey, I don't have a clue about dental chair.
Yep.
This is where you're hoping the education you bring to the dealer network helps ADEC shine through.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, selfishly, I want ADEC to be for every single customer out there, right? Look, it's not for everybody, unfortunately, right? And that's where, as the dealer, it's their job to understand all of their offerings pretty intimately, so that they can have a good conversation with the customer and understand, hey, what's the proper solution for them? And a lot of the times, there's an overlap in what can accommodate there are a lot of other companies that can provide a dental chair, right? And I'm not going to say they're bad. They're not in many ways. It's just a matter of what the best fit is and what the differentiating criteria is for those companies and how they align with the doctor's goals. So,
lean on your distributor days for a little bit.
Yeah.
You had to learn how many different brands of stuff. How many different things did you have to know?
I would tell you, I think I sold 100,000 different products from probably 200 different companies.
Wow.
So, I mean, in all different spaces, from technology, equipment, the whole 9 yards, and different manufacturers across those. So there's a lot of, the dealer does a really good job with understanding all of those different options, and maybe they can't carry out the same depth of understanding of a certain category, and that's where the manufacturer rep would come in, for example, right? So maybe someone's unsure. Maybe they would talk to me through that distributor partner, and then talk to another company too, and make their best decision.
You guys do a really cool thing where you do these, I'm going to call them tours. I don't know what they're technically called. Educational trips, VIP trips.
Educational experiences.
Yeah, you take them up to the factory, right? And now you guys have it set up in Nashville too, is that correct?
We do, that's correct.
So you got the two setups, because obviously it's a long haul to get from New York to Oregon.
Exactly.
But those have always been another differentiator. So you get in at schools and government, and then you do this really cool thing, because I've been fortunate enough to go on a couple, where you take doctors who are considering ADEC, considering kind of like, hey, well, why would it matter? Why does this matter? Why ADEC, or maybe over another chair, or in general? And you bring them up to Oregon, and you give them, is it 2 days, day and a half? Depends
on schedules.
Okay, well, there's that. But you do this really cool tour. Is that something that's been a part of the ADEC model from day one?
Yeah.
Is that something that you guys just thought, hey, if we're going to ask people to invest in us, then we want to invest in them? Or what's the secret sauce there?
A little bit of both, actually, and it goes back. So ADEC's been around for a little over 60 years now, and I'm obviously newer to the company, but got to work with it from the outside perspective as well. And it's really cool that the founders of ADEC, it's a family-owned company. They were really proud to take care of the community and have the people work in Newburgh, where ADEC is headquartered. And they made a beautiful campus, and we want to show it off.
Yeah, it's cool.
Not just to be show-offs because it's really cool, but because we're proud.
Yeah.
And we want the customer to know that the company that they're potentially working with is a great company. We're not hiding anything. We're happy to show you anything and everything of how it's made, so that you understand the company that you're working with, the philosophies that we have, what our culture is, the employees that are making the products, who the customer service reps are, all of it, right? It's a big part of it. And then while they're there, not only do they understand sort of why ADEC is the way it is and the founding principles of the company, but then they also get the opportunity to look at about 20 different operatories of different configurations. So you used that car metaphor earlier. It's being able to test drive 20 different cars and see all the different options, and not just the cars themselves, but see the different tires and the speaker options, right, et cetera. So having all of those side by side, and we get to have some fun in the process too, and continue building the relationship, because as you know, the relationship and being a trusted partner is a really important part of every project. So it checks all of those boxes and becomes a really good opportunity for people that are interested in learning more about it.
Yeah. I've always found it to be a heck of an experience. And it's not, because you could easily bring people up there and they'd be kind of and I find it funny because there's similarities in what a dentist wants to do, right? And a lot of dentists are like, hey, we're great and we're amazing and we're all these things, which of course, please toot your own horn. If you don't, no one else will.
Yeah.
But then when you get there, the patient goes, it's kind of like any other dental, the dental chair and the assistant and a hygienist and a thing, you really better deliver a hell of an experience when they show up.
Yeah.
And when you go on this thing to see you guys, not blowing smoke, and it's a pretty cool thing.
Thank you. Yeah.
And then I know there's some kind of funkiness to it. Like you guys will go and be like, hey, you see these, and I'm gonna probably say there's like a tube or something. Like we had to make our own because we get them from a place and they were messing up and there were either leaks in them or whatever. So we just said, hey, to heck with it, we're gonna go make our own. And you're like, oh, really? Yeah, that's what you're gonna do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. And that probably lends itself to the quality and this, why people. I know a lot of doctors that are like, I bought AJEC chairs decades ago. They still run great today. I'm gonna sell my practice with those babies still sitting in there. I would bet you that most schools make that investment and keep them there for a very, very long time. I think that has all lent to the story that is.
Yep.
But what would you say it is? Is it all that same stuff? Is there other stuff there that I don't see necessarily that maybe the doctor is getting, kind of the unseen benefits, if you will, besides a great dental chair?
Yeah, I think that you maybe teased some of those things.
Yeah,
The tubing is a great example of one of many things over time that we have found that if we own the quality of, we can, confirm that quality is there going out the door for a brand new piece of equipment, but then also know that it's going to last 20 plus years, right? And it's funny. I'm a salesperson, right? That's how I make my money at the end of the day to pay my bills and put food on my table. But it's really convenient in a way that we've got products that last, 40 plus years, and a doctor's got it and they're calling into customer service and we still are supporting it and providing parts for it and helping them, fix whatever's going on with it. Yeah. And in a way, it's kind of a funny problem because it's 40 years old and they're like, why would I buy something new?
Yeah.
Right. Which is kind of a funny thing, right?
Yeah, of course.
And it's kind of a beautiful scenario that over time we have done such a good job as a company to create that quality control from tubing, to your point, to every single component that we make that goes into the chair while still innovating it, and all the other items that we make. But then also you look at who the company is and giving back to the community and the culture around it, and just trying to take care of customers to help them understand their vision. Because that's you mentioned that the doctors sort of. They don't know what their goals are a lot of the time because they show up in school and whatever is there is what they work with.
Yeah, true.
And then they're an associate someplace and that's what they work with.
Yep.
And it's one of the biggest difficulties that they have is understanding what they want to deliver that customer experience.
Yeah.
So they know that they want to deliver a great customer experience and have those great customers, but they don't know what they want from a setup standpoint. And they're going to go use it for the next 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we do a good job as partners and as ADEC. I think that's part of our secret sauce is we've developed so many different products that we can generally find the right solution for anybody and help them understand what it is that they're looking to achieve for an end outcome for that patient, but then sort of reverse engineer it, with the equipment in the operatory. So it's kind of building a cockpit of a plane, if you will, so that they've got everything at their fingertips to set it up the right way and have the right outcome that aligns with the type of dentistry that they want to provide.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And also that takes me to configuration, right? Like you guys can do a bunch of different things.
Yep.
You said you 22 different setups at the spot?
I don't even know the exact.
but there's a lot.
We have 20 plus different operatories there with all types of different configurations, and everything is tailor made.
And some probably peed and some other things. So if I'm a GP, I maybe overlook those, but in general, a bunch of different versions.
Yeah.
And so configuration comes down to, similar to the car analogy, and I can't help it. I went to state college, as we talked about back in Ohio. And so I got to make things a little more simple. And so I oftentimes will talk to docs because there is a version where people say, "Oh, I need to make it affordable," whatever that is. So whether we're talking about cone beams or chairs or whatever, say, "Hey, I got to find something that's affordable."
Yep.
And so when we talk about chairs, you can still get, I think based on configuration, you can still get the ADEC brand and all the build quality and all that stuff, and still make it, let's say, more affordable or more expensive. If you want to go in the car analogy, premium sound system and moonroof and backup cam and navigation and now today's autonomous driving.
Yep.
That's going to cost a lot more in that car. It still might say Mercedes on it, but it's going to be a lot more expensive Mercedes, or you can strip some of that stuff out. Do you really need all that stuff in the early days of you driving your car, in this case, running your practice, and still get build quality of a Mercedes, let's say?
Right.
So talk to me about configurations, not necessarily an exact configuration, but there are, I guess I want to find out, does it make sense for a startup doctor to get in touch with you to talk configuration specifically? Because quite frankly, I get a little nervous that as a distributor rep, and this is where I love your experience in both, because I don't want to overspeak or sell someone short, but having to know as many brands as you have to know on the distributor side, you don't, something's going to go in one ear and out the other on configuration of what an ADEC chair can be. So I might just say, hey, Doc, here's the ADEC chair. You like it or not? And you go, maybe price point, or maybe I don't like that setup. And they go, okay, well, let's look at another brand. Wait. I could just reconfigure it to be more like you.
100%.
Okay.
And so you're spot on in terms of configuration options and what the criteria is for the customer helps to sort of
course,
understand.
So they need to know a little bit.
Yes,
Okay.
and so there are a handful of moving targets that we're consistently working with, right? It's the budget, which is not the same day one as it is day 30, or et cetera, as we go down the line, because
Great point.
you start understanding what the different components are going to cost you, and so we also recognize that most new practices don't have patients yet, right? So there's the balance in terms of configurations of, well, financially, we can allocate more budget to having, 3 chairs or 4 chairs or 5 chairs, or maybe we start with 2 or 3 or whatever that number is from the beginning that are higher end, right?
Yeah.
And those are options. And then we also have the beauty of having upgradability over time, right? And so maybe it's something where, the doctor wants to have an electric motor now, but maybe they don't want to integrate a Cavitron day one. I'm just thinking out loud, right? So we have the option to add these things later. Maybe we don't want to start with an electric motor, but we want to grow into it in a couple of years, right? We have the ability to add those things later on, and that's where it's really important to understand what the end in mind is, what that end goal is, because we can help get there, right?
We could work our way into that too.
Maybe an operatory right now starts off as a, two or three operatories, pardon me, and then one of those chairs turns into a hygiene room down the road, right? We have wiggle room there. And so it's all about understanding the budget. We can, price things in different ways because of there are quantity discounts. We do startup discounts as well. So there are different programs on that
stuff
front.
there.
But then it's also a matter of, the different levels of every single component of equipment, from the chair to the stools, the delivery and assistance package, lights. The list goes on and on, right? So, and all of those are sort of tailor-made configured. So there are a million ways that we can configure it, and it's all dependent on how they want to operate. And it's our job as a team to understand what that is and help educate them to make the proper decision for themselves.
Right. So there is value then. And I think that value is missed oftentimes where, hey, here's a distributor person. Cool, but we may, if you really do enjoy ADEC, Doc, and you want to get to the heart of it, we might also want to talk to the ADEC rep as well to talk configurations. Because like I said, I worry sometimes the distributor's like, okay, well, that didn't work for you. Let's go to the next brand, as opposed to let's just maybe work on the configuration.
And in my opinion, and this is my dealer background, that's one of the biggest value adds that you can provide as a partner for the dentist, right? And if I'm a dentist, that's what I would look for, is someone that I feel comfortable having that conversation with, because there's nothing better than understanding how you want that operatory to work. And I'm not talking about a brand, right? That's
just how you
if
want
I
to
understand how the operatory is going to work, where my trash is going to be, where my carpules are going to be, where my gloves are going to be, right? How my assistants and I are going to work. Once again, I'm not talking about brands, but if I can understand that, then I can start pairing the brands with the solutions I'm looking to achieve. And I feel confident in saying that ADEC's got solutions for all of those different configurations, once again, but the dentist needs to understand that. And if the dealer partner is not helping them with that, then there's something that's off, and we need to have that conversation, make sure that we're understanding those goals and the vision, because it's an important part of what needs to happen for the project to be executed properly and for the dentist to be happy with their end result.
Yeah. Okay, good. And I think that's also, it's funny because you do rely on the dealer network to make you look good. And then there's a version where they can make you look bad. I mean, and no one's fault. But again, I get the stuff, get the gear. I don't like the setup, and so they sold me the thing, and now all I see on everything is ADEC. I go, well, ADEC stinks. Well, maybe not. Maybe it's just a setup. Maybe it didn't take the time. And I think the message I want the listener to take away with is, if you are set on a brand, then talk to the brand. Don't just talk to the dealer.
Definitely.
Not to take the dealer out of it, but to get that education for yourself, because it's a sizable investment.
We're here for a reason.
Yeah, exactly right. Let's use you. Let's use you.
Definitely.
Let's go do that.
Well, and I'll also suggest that the dealer is awesome. We need their team. They're at the forefront of it. There's a lot going on for them, but we're here to help them and supplement that. And I'd also suggest that on the manufacturer side, I want to know if there are problems, right? Because
Yeah.
it's our job to help and do an equipment orientation before they open up and make sure that they're maintaining it properly, right? That's part of the value that we provide. And not that the dealer's not involved with that. Once again, I mean, I rely on them. I need their partnership. They're excellent at what they do, but I'm also the person that they're going to have the customer is separately going to have a relationship with,
of course,
to make sure that they're trained properly. And this massive investment that they just made in equipment, they need to know how to use it properly, right? And take care of it properly so that it does last 20 plus years.
Oh yeah,
and they love the experience. So yes, you're exactly right. We're all about being a team, right? Having all of those team members kind of play their part, if you will.
Somebody can have a bad game and then
exactly.
Great, then we lose. Okay.
Yep.
I got that. Now that also, it's funny because that leads me into, there's a couple things you guys had. One of those things is a 10-year warranty. That's did you guys come up 2 years ago? 3 years ago you guys decided that?
About a little over 1 year ago.
A little over 1 year ago. Okay. It's flying by. I've got 2 little boys, so the days are long, but the months and years are pretty short. Right? So a little over 1 year ago, you guys have said, hey, we're going to stamp 10-year warranties on our chairs, units,
operatory equipment.
Okay, got it. You guys also have cabinetry.
Yep.
That 10-year warranty on the cabinetry?
There is.
Okay, great. So all up really equipment.
Yep.
Okay. Now, interestingly enough, on one hand, you go 10-year warranty. On the other hand, you guys made a decision a couple years ago, which I found insightful. Because I don't think you can be good at all things. And you guys made a pivot a couple years ago in the handpiece game. And we don't have to say, we can say brands, I don't mind. But you guys pivoted and said, hey, we need we're going to have a brand do this. We're not going to keep this in-house anymore. We're not going to necessarily have this in our shop. We're going to have a handpiece specific company be our handpiece partner. And I thought that was insightful. Because as much as you guys had that in-house for a little while, and then it pivoted to, hey, it's just not cutting the mustard, so to speak. Is that more or less?
Yeah, I would tell you that some of those decisions are, way above my...
Mike didn't come in and say, these are the...
But yes, and I would say that we're generally pretty aware of where our shortcomings are, right? And maybe it's not even a shortcoming. Maybe it's, hey, this company is a partner.
Crushing,
and they're doing great. Let's work together, right? We can have a strategic partnership and create an integration story that benefits the customer on a daily basis, and we've done that not just with hand pieces and electric motors, but
vacuum compressors, right?
You guys
compressors. Brought that in house.
So we acquired that and kind of ADECized it, if you will. But I mean, even like on the handpiece side, like Cavitron's kind of a brand name that people know.
Of course.
I mean, we don't make the Cavitron, but we integrate it, right? And same thing with Piezos. Action makes those. So popular companies, popular brands. We don't make them, but we can integrate them and work together.
Yeah, so you saw that there's a need
it's at
there.
Their fingertips.
Right. And I think that's what I found insightful. You could be in a position, having been a 60-year-old company, having been considered, by most folks, the market leader in the space, and said, well, we know best. And instead you said, hey, we know enough to know that, hey, maybe we're not hitting on all cylinders in all arenas, and so why don't we can we improve it? And so you look, vacuum compressors, we can improve that. Let's do that in-house. And I can't improve the handpiece thing any better than these guys are doing. So why reinvent the wheel? Let's just let these guys do it. Or a Cavitron or a Piezo or whatever. I always thought that was really insightful. You guys do something that's too funny with your LED lights, right? Your operatory light, it took you a while to come out with an LED light. Now today it's probably 7 years old, 10 years old,
something maybe. Like that, yeah.
But for a while you were not first to market.
Correct.
And so you guys, don't you test them for some obscene amount of hours?
Yeah. So innovation and engineering are a big part of the ADEC story. And that's part of what people get to see on those educational experiences. But I think the number is somewhere around 150 engineers that we have on our staff they're not just sitting around designing things all day. The intention is to design to fulfill a need, right? And so we have market research teams that understand where the gaps are and where the market's going. And then we have engineers that are designing things, but then we also have a whole testing facility. And so I alluded to the quality that ADEC, the ADEC brand is notorious for, and we want to keep it that way. And we publicly list on all of our equipment that we want it to last at least 20 plus years. Like that's what we designed it to. And so we wouldn't release the LED light until we tested it for a long enough period of time that we felt confident that it was going to last at least 20 years and that the quality was fitting of the need in the market. And so we were, to your point, late to the market on that front because we weren't ready to release a product that wasn't ready. And that's part of why I'm proud. I made a transition to work for ADEC a little over a year ago, and the reason that I went to ADEC is exactly that. It's a company that does the right thing at the end of the day. Good culture, that we care about the employees, and the employees having a good culture make us want to do a better job of taking care of the customer, right? So it's this full circle of doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And it's part of who we are to our core. And that's the light metaphor is a great example.
Yeah. I remember I've been through the testing side of things, and I know, and I don't remember, but I just remember that there was lights on being tested and whatever, and one light had been on for like some obscene amount of time. And you're like, yeah, this light just has been on. We just tested it. It's the oldest light in the shop. It's been on for forever. You're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
It just stays on. And you're trying to, and that's interesting because you can, I think I saw a video once on, I can't remember, some manufacturer of cabinets or whatever, and they were talking about how many times they tested some drawer opening and closing, opening and closing. And they had to create a little robot arm to just push it and pull it and push it and pull it to see if they can get 10,000 pulls or 20,000 pulls or only 5,000 pulls, but test it to failure, which is an interesting concept that I don't know enough companies do anymore or appreciate anymore, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, because I would tell you, and I don't think Apple listens to the podcast, so I'm okay here, and I'm an iPhone user. I would tell you this baby's going to burn out, and this is new. This is a few months old. This thing's going to burn out in 2 years for sure. For some reason, when the new run comes out and you get about 24 months, that battery just starts to cycle right down. And maybe that makes me a conspiracy theorist, but this is like my 8th one, and it happens almost like clockwork.
I agree.
So,
yeah.
Okay. I just don't know enough companies that I think companies out there want to be first to market or be innovative, but don't also want to test to failure or test to make sure that, hey, this stuff actually works.
Yeah.
And it works the way we say it works.
The biggest thing that can tarnish the 60 plus years of the ADEC brand is if all of a sudden that quality just goes out the window.
Exactly
right?
Yeah.
And so trust is something that takes a really long time to build, and it's really quick to lose it, right? And so, and I always told customers the same thing, that if they have a great experience of working with me, I hope that they refer me to a friend or a colleague, whatever. However, if they have a bad experience, I know they're going to tell the whole world.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just the reality, right? It's the same concept around trust and quality control, and being around for as long as we have, and having the market share that we do. That's awesome, but we could lose it overnight if we weren't careful, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we are careful with every single product that we do come out with. And if there's something that we're not doing the right thing, it is known, and we take care of it instantly, because it's not okay. We have to consistently do the right thing.
And you said earlier, hey, this also gives us market feedback about stuff. If stuff isn't working, you guys get that on the street level or on the ground level, if you will. Take that up the tower, and you might say, hey, the lights aren't lasting long, or what I'm just going to pretend here, the handpiece stuff isn't going the right way, or the vacuum compressor stuff isn't. We need to fix, do whatever. The reaction time seems to be pretty daggone quick on that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, if there's a problem that's occurring every single day, that's an issue for everybody, and we have to get it fixed, because we can't have that problem associated with our quality. The brand is too well established and too well built for us to tarnish it over something that's little and shouldn't be happening. Like I said, it's not the right thing at the end of the day. So we have to be consistent with that quality, and it's the quality of support that we provide locally as well. I mean, it's from top to bottom of the organization. We all feel the same way, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I want to talk back to that configuration part and think about combination of being an ADEC guy today and being a distributor guy in your years past. How does the startup doc get the bang for the buck? Is there a configuration version? Is there a special code word they need to say to you to get a deal? How do they get there? Because you had said investment a couple times, and I agree with you. There's got to be a return on it to be an investment. And there's a return on a dental chair, of course. But what's the best strategy or some tips, tricks on how to get the return on investment with ADEC?
Yeah, so I would tell you to recognize first off that we have a million configurations, right? And so the best thing, we talked about the configuration side earlier of trying to understand it. We want to understand what their goal configuration is, so that we can sort of talk to them about the different, the different ways we can allocate money within their budget to fit that configuration. And so I mentioned that we have different programs. So we recognize, budget is a topic in the startup world, and it should be. And so that's where we've started these programs to help essentially provide great discounts and startup value, if you will, for great quality equipment, so that they buy the right equipment one time, and they don't have to worry about replacing it in 7 years or 10 years or whatever any other option would be. And so it's not a special code word. I'm sure we could create a promo code. It wouldn't really be relevant or anything here. It's like I said, it's something that we've got sort of a criteria that, as long as it's a startup situation and they fit the mold. We want to set them up for success with the configuration that they want. And then we're going to lock in that startup discount level for 2 years so they can grow as well. So if they decided they want the higher end for 2 or 3 ops, for example, and then maybe in 18 months after opening, they want to add a 4th operatory, for example, they're getting that same level of discount. So their patient flow is funding that additional operatory, but they also had the equipment that they wanted right out of the gate. So that's a really important and helpful tool. And then after that as well, we still give them a quantity discount based on what they've bought. So it's 4 years of discounts to alleviate it and alleviate the burden of the budget up front a little bit, but then also help them get the equipment that they want up front and grow with the equipment that they need as their practice grows. Because budget allocation in a startup, you have to spend money on the construction. You don't have a choice. You've got to do the entire office. However, if you have no patience, you don't need 5 chairs sitting there that are collecting dust. It doesn't really do anybody any good. So that's a lot of what we're working with. And it's our job to understand their budget, because some people will spend more money on higher end selections for the construction side of things, and some people will spend less money. Everyone's right.
That's fair. That's fair. However you see the practice, I get that. Is there any value to go like I know you have a 511 chair and a 411 chair. Is there value in saying, hey, I want to go a 511 chair and maybe a quieter op, a surgical suite or whatever, and then a 411? Or does it, with the discounts and everything else, does it make more sense to stick to one particular, just buy 3 411s or buy 3 511s? Or
it's all preference.
Okay.
So we do a mix and match pretty regularly. We'll have people that will pick all 411s that are kind of our middle of the road chair, if you will. It's excellent. I would tell you that if you didn't know the 511 existed, the 411 is the best chair on the market, right?
Okay, cool.
So it's excellent. There's nothing wrong with it. And same with our 311. And so people will mix and match. Some people will do hygiene rooms as lower level, and then higher end rooms, they're restorative rooms, or surgical rooms as higher end. There's not a right way of doing it. You also can do higher end chair with what it's funny that we'll call it the lower end delivery unit, even though same
delivery
thing.
Units are a real thing though. You know? Like especially when doctors, you're working on the chair. I think some doctors think the chair comes with a delivery unit. Right. Like it just is a part of the thing. And a delivery unit, in some cases can be 80 to 90% of the chair costs. Like, hey, so the chair is X and the delivery unit is almost as much as the chair is.
That's correct.
So it's got a lot going on to it.
Definitely.
But so when you add the delivery unit to it, depending upon how you configure it, you're either buying the chair plus delivery unit and they're about the same price, or you're buying chair, delivery units a little less, but configured the way you want. You guys got touch pads, you got all kinds of stuff set up in there, right?
Okay. Yeah, and this is exactly where the conversation goes is what procedures are you looking to do, right? And what can we integrate? Because integration tends to look better than integration, I like to call it, within the operatory, right?
Gotcha.
So having everything at your fingertips so that you can maintain focus on the oral cavity is pretty important. And we have different touch pads and things that we can build in and different sizes and all that type of stuff, right? So it becomes what they want, and the function is generally the end goal there. Some people care about the aesthetics more than the function, but we have so many variations. It's really just about understanding what makes the most sense for them. And to your point, the delivery unit cost-wise tends to be, 50% of the cost of the chair unit light if they're building a lot of things in. And, it can also be a lot less than that. It can be more than that too, depending on what they want to do, right? So there's not a right answer, but the patient chair, generally it's the chair, right? It's comfortable, moves the patient up and down with ease, all that type of stuff. But the delivery unit, there's a massive swing from a cost standpoint because you can integrate intraoral cameras, electric motors, multiple electric motors, Cavitrons, piezos,
now all of a sudden
fiber optics, right?
A ton, right?
So that's actually in my opinion, the better place to use the car analogy, because we can make a car 25 grand, we can make a car 50 grand, and everywhere in between, right? And those are just vague general numbers, but it can truly double the price is the concept. And so there's not a right answer. And
if I had to say, and you can tell me if this is wrong, I would probably tell somebody listening, if you get concerned about the price of the chair, look at the delivery unit and see the setup. Ask questions on, hey, is there anything we can do to get the overall price of the chair maybe lower by reconfiguring the delivery unit? Because we do this in construction all the time. Hey, I want this. And then you go, oh, well, this table is marble. Ooh, that's how much? Never mind. I don't want a marble table. I thought I did. Can it look like marble? Or I'll just go to wood, because it ain't that important to me to have the marble table at that price. So forget it. And I think that doctors don't know where to look.
Yeah.
So trying to give them some sort of, hey, to shortcut this, if you had questions or concerns, the chair's the chair. Really can change it to what, leather or your
we have
other
different
material.
upholstery styles.
Yeah, but other than that moves it a couple bucks. The delivery unit is going to move this thing quite a bit on how you want to configure it. And maybe you don't want the same setup in every room because you're like, well, I'm not going to do all that stuff in all those rooms. I can maybe have a lower end, maybe less high-end delivery unit in certain rooms, which would bring the price point down, which then now all of a sudden makes it affordable. So a couple bucks either way. Okay.
Definitely. And that's where every single situation is different, right? And it all depends on what they want. But there's not a right answer per se. I would tell you that it's become very popular for startup dentists to go with our high-end chair because they love it and go so our 500 chair, and then they'll commonly get the 300 delivery unit with it, which is something we used to not be able to do, but it's kind of become a sweet spot in many ways for startups. Some people have the budget and they can do all 500 and they love it. Great, I'm all for it. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's kind of become a nice sweet spot where it's giving them everything they want from a function standpoint, because there's definitely been a trend toward integrating electric motors and piezo's or Cavitron, whatever it is, right out of the gate. People want it, which is awesome, but they cost money. And so that's where there's kind of that balancing act, and giving up a little bit on the the level, if you will, of giving up the E class to get the C class is not necessarily the end of the world. Like it's still doing everything that you need from a function standpoint. You have the quality, all those criteria that we talked about earlier. We're still hitting on every single one of those. So that's become a sweet spot, but every single situation, budget, everything is different. Yeah.
Can I upgrade the 300 series delivery unit or some version of that? I can make modifications to it later if I say, hey, I'm getting into higher level stuff or I want to add more to it. I can still upgrade it.
Definitely. So a good example would be, let's just say I wanted to add an electric motor, for example, right? So you could add an electric motor later if you wanted to, assuming we've got the proper touchpad and we, game planned all of that, or if you wanted to add a second electric motor. All of those are options of upgradability that we could, talk through down the road to keep the options open, which is great.
Great. It also tells me too that I could save the money in the short term and then come back and upgrade as I see fit.
Definitely.
As opposed to like, I got to buy a whole new thing or whatever. No, you can just make an upgrade.
Yep.
Or you can just modify it here and there.
Yeah.
But having that conversation in the beginning becomes really, really important.
Yeah. Ideally, I always try to coach people to spend money one time. And I think that it's a natural transition in people's lives where, in the younger days, you buy less expensive stuff because it's less expensive.
Yeah, of course.
And as time goes on, you start worrying more about the quality of things and how long this is going to last and how it feels and works and whatnot, right? And I always try to coach people to buy the right thing one time, but then knowing that there's that wiggle room of upgradability that we can play with, it's still buying the right thing.
Yeah.
It's just also kind of keeping your options open for down the road if you do want to continuously upgrade. So it's kind of a nice sweet spot for us.
In your practice, stuff's going to change.
Yeah.
Just like in your real life. All of a sudden,
new things can come out
single
too.
Guy running around town isn't thinking about marriage and kids and the thing and the 401ks and all that stuff. And then when you get married and you have kids and you start going, retirement and this and that and saving money. And so I think the same thing in dentistry is a startup, you're focusing on certain things. And some folks are closing the door for flexibility in the future. And flexibility can be security. Having options can be the secure thing to go with.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think that that would be a mistake that I see some doctors make. I think the same thing with what you said about the number of chairs. You hear a lot of startups saying, well, I need at least 6 or 8 chairs, whatever. And it's like, well maybe. And if we're talking about Missouri, you can get a 6 or 8 chair facility for a heck of a lot less expensive or a lot cheaper than Miami, California, San Francisco, that's Southern Cal, Northern Cal, New York, wherever. And so I find that there is a version of quality over quantity in this scenario. And I don't find that that's always true. I don't necessarily believe that there's always a conversation to be said for quality over quantity. What I mean by that is sometimes they can go hand in hand.
Yeah.
But sometimes in the early days, it makes sense to go, hey, look, I'm going to invest in this here, and it's going to be 2 or 3 chairs. I don't want 4 or 5 collecting dust. I can always add them later.
Yeah.
And I can always reconfigure them later. I also, it's funny, I had somebody else in the podcast before, and we were talking about chair configurations and setups, and he educated me on like getting a chair without the delivery unit and setting it up for just hygiene, and I thought that was super smart.
Yeah.
Because now I can say, look, I'm going to have a wireless polisher, wireless scale, or not a wireless scale, but a scale I can move to any room, and then later on, I'm going to make that chair, and I can do restorative or operative care in there, I'm going to add a delivery unit.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my God, my brain was like, this is crazy. I never knew this was even possible.
Yeah.
And he was kind of the first one that hit me to it. But now the 511 with the 300 setup also sounds like this really cool, hey, did you know this was there?
Yeah.
So I appreciate you sharing a little bit of that insight there.
Yeah.
Any other stuff, whether it's mistakes that you see in the market or ways people can get value out of working with ADEC, or maybe there's something about the distributor network that maybe I'm being too harsh on and we should give them a little more love. I don't know. I'm not trying to be. I'm just trying to say, hey, I think they got a lot going on. And you can't represent every brand equally all the time.
I think that a message that I would share both from ADEC's perspective and the dealer's perspective is pick the right team. And that's the most important thing that you can do. And when I say the right team, I mean the right dealer. There are a bunch of dealers. There are people within those dealer networks. And in my opinion is you're not just picking a company that you work with. The companies are great. There's nothing wrong with any of them. However, the person that you're working with is really what it comes down to, because your opinion of that company comes from your experience of working with that individual. And so, and that's not just for the dealer side. That's for your contractor. That's for your consultant that you work with. That's for your banker. That's for your broker. The whole 9 yards. So pick the right team, and you will find that your team can work together to understand your vision. And there's this cohesion that occurs. And cohesion saves money because it makes things happen faster from a timeline standpoint. It makes mistakes happen far less because the equipment dealer and manufacturer team are communicating with the contractor a little bit better, right? It just works. And all of a sudden, the end result of the progress, that ribbon cutting that I like to kind of joke about is the optimal goal. Like that's where we're all trying to get to. And everyone's super happy. The mayor's there, all that type of stuff. It happens a lot faster, on budget, and it just works if you've got the right team that you liked working with, right? And I mean, don't get me wrong, I think I'm a nice guy. I want everyone to get along with me, but I'm not everyone's cup of tea, right? It's just, and that's the case for every single person. If they don't like somebody
named Mike, then you're in big trouble. You're kind of SOL.
Right, exactly. But that's the point, though, is it's all about having the right team, and that team will do the project for you in the grand scheme of things. We need you to make decisions. And that's, I mentioned earlier, the biggest fault I see is people not diving deep to understand what they actually want, right? And they need to do that. They have to figure out. So where can they
go to get some? Because I find that Facebook groups are a very dangerous place. But sometimes I just don't know any better. And if I don't have a place to go get information, then I'm just going to go start finding it and start looking for it. Now, I think human nature today is much more about confirmation bias and more of a affirmation play than it really is a true get information play. And I always want to give them the right information and not try and tell them that every idea they have is a good idea. But I'm also not trying to, I'm not trying to be an a-hole and say, oh, your ideas are terrible and listen to me. I don't believe in that version of coaching. I am curious though, is there, besides saying the website, where can these folks go get some solid information about you or dealers or whomever? Because, if I go into a Facebook group, half the group will say a brand is great. The other half will say it's terrible. The other half, and to be, if I was an Android user, I would immediately tell everybody that Apple stinks or that iPhone is awful. Well, because I'm an Android user, so I want to be right. And I don't want you to tell me how awesome Apple is because I'm going to tell you how awesome Android is. So let's parlay that into the question at hand, which is where any places you like, or how can they find out?
Yeah, so I would tell you that it all depends on the stage that people are at in the process.
Good point.
And so if they're super, super early stages, a lot of the times people can find information on Pinterest. You can find it like visually, right? And I'm a big fan of, in the starting point, start building your Pinterest board and start to label things. What you want your front office to look like, your reception desk, what you want your imaging alcove to look like, your operatories, your sterilization, all that type of stuff, right? And start kind of build that. And if you don't know, construction companies tend to have good websites and resources there. If you don't know of contractors, ask us, right? And if you've got colleagues from dental school that have already, gone down this path of starting their own practice, ask them about their experience. Ask them who they worked with. Maybe they're not going to say rave things about everybody, right? But maybe they did have a couple of people on their team that they raved about. It's not your job to necessarily just take exactly what they said and duplicate it, because your practice should be different. But every single one of them should be interviewing multiple options to make sure that they're making the right decision for them. We are all loaded with resources. Like I said, we can provide more, but early stages, Pinterest, websites, there are all types of design forums and events that you can go to.
That's true.
We're trying to do more and more to give people education so that they can, get through that early stage and understand what it is that they want to do. And then hopefully once you're in that network with your team picked out, it's our resources that are kind of putting everything on a silver platter for you to make the right decision, whatever that decision is, right? So yeah, we have all types of resources. Our website's fun.
Yeah,
it's good places.
yeah.
Like,
do you guys put out when you're going to be at some of the dental trade shows? I mean, I know that some people poo-poo those and are like, they're kind of going away. I still find them massively valuable as a shopping mall experience.
Yeah.
Where I can go see a bunch of different things, and I'm not getting just one lens and one filter. If I want to go look at the ADEC stuff, I can go to the ADEC booth.
Yeah.
If I want to go look at somebody else's stuff, I can go to that thing. If I want to go look at a distributor's booth or another distributor or a technology partner or whomever, I can go look at all those things on my own accord, as opposed to I can go see online, but that's as tactile as a part of dentistry.
definitely.
Do you guys publish where that you guys are going to be, or how would I find out what shows you're going to be at?
So great point. So typically we'll post it on Instagram,
Yeah,
for
okay,
example.
okay.
I really like trade shows because of the courses as well. And there
Yeah.
are typically startup courses
Yeah.
at
Oh,
every
yeah.
single
Very
trade
true.
show as well. So that's a
Very
good
true.
way to get some education. That's pretty, hands off and easy. You can just kind of sit in the stands, if you will. The one thing I would say of just, take everything that you see with a grain of salt at trade shows is
Yeah.
it's really easy to make things look good on a trade show floor.
Very
That's
true.
the only thing that I would
Very
say.
true. Yeah, yeah.
And that's not to knock anybody. I can
yeah.
tell you from selling everything.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really easy to put up a big screen and show a CT, for example, the
Yeah,
highest
yeah,
quality
yeah,
resolution
yeah, yeah.
that's possible, right?
Yeah,
From a canned image with nothing else in
Yeah.
the patient's mouth, right? So there are different things to just be aware of with that. And to your point, like the shopping mall experience, it's kind of fun. It's a good way to kind of see, touch, and feel everything and understand what's out there. But like I said, take it with a grain of salt. That's all I would say in regards to that recommendation. But I am a big fan of seeing, touch, and feeling all the different options and sitting in courses as well to learn more, because the beauty of having experts that are leading those courses is they've done this hundreds of times.
Right,
and no offense to the dentists, they havenent,
Yeah.
right?
No, I think the smart ones will tell you, I'm here to get an education because I don't know.
Yep.
So I think it's good. We can find you where to get this information? Social media channels, LinkedIn. So where do we find you?
LinkedIn is great. Instagram's great. Integrated Dental SoCal is my
Integrated Dental
Instagram.
Instagram. Okay.
Yep.
LinkedIn.
Mike Lammer JC
I'll
is.
put that in the
Yep.
descriptions, the proper spelling with the JC on it. And if I go to the ADAC website, can I get to you through there? Like
You
a
can.
territory
Yep.
rep, Southern Cal?
Definitely.
Southern
Southern California, you can find me through the ADEC website that way as well.
Okay.
And
They could find any rep too, right? They
Correct.
just go through
Across the
state.
whole
Okay,
country.
cool.
Yep.
Okay. How many reps are there?
I don't know that answer.
Oh yeah, your boss is gonna be real upset
Yeah.
if you didn't know that. There's 20 or 30 or something.
That's his
give or
job.
take.
No, it's probably closer to 50 or 60, but
Yeah. All right.
And
Awesome.
I shouldn't even say across the country, worldwide. We're
Yeah,
global,
that's
so.
true. That's true.
Yep.
That's true. Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you being
Thank
here.
you.